Hello, Dr. Hines. This is my presentation, and it's called Why Coal Consumption Keeps Rising. So let's start talking about how the energy landscape is constantly changing. Some of the last trends relate to, for example, the oil exports from America and how they continue to rise as the country gains in energy independence. On other fields, it seems that the end of the fracking expansion is coming, and also renewables have made gains. The world energy generation is, of course, still dominated by fossil fuels. As we can see, currently most of the energy production relies on liquid fuels, mostly oil. Two-fifths of the energy production is transformed to electricity, and in the electricity field, coal remains the biggest source of fuel for generating electricity. Most of this demand is being stoked by the rise of power-hungry middle classes in emerging economies, for example, China and India. Actually, two-thirds of coal's growth is expected to be driven by demand for electricity in China. By the end of this decade, coal may be expected to surpass oil as the world's dominant fuel source. Although coal does have several advantages, uh, concerns over the links between climate change and carbon emission could reduce this consumption. Still, coal exports are growing fast, and for example, used coal production is projected to remain relatively constant over the next 3 decades, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration. Indeed, this agency considers that if politicians and regulators decide that the benefits of coal outweigh the environmental risk, um, coal demand could rise to 6 billion tons. The future success of the state's business and industrial sectors depends on access to plentiful and affordable energy to meet both power and thermal needs. One way to understand the possibilities to influence and create interventions in the energy field is to analyze the relationship between the most important variables working in this energy production system. Starting with the current coal resources, we can see that the link with the coal production will produce a balanced loop. It makes sense. We can explode coal as long as we still have undepleted resources. But the system lost its balance as we analyze the coal sales variable. Uh, as we can sell more coal because of the electricity demand, it will increase the price and will foster the coal production, which will lead to deplete our resources even faster. But we need to understand that any bias towards energy stocks is strictly from a financial perspective. Among the type of fuels, oil is the highest price. The coal price is much lower, especially if it's locally produced. Natural gas prices vary around the world, but tend to be between coal and oil prices. Natural gas is the second most important fossil fuel for electricity production, and we can assume that natural gas system will work in a very similar way. The interesting point here is to introduce a price different variable which will work with the sales variable and foster the most suitable production system. An initial run of our system gives us an interesting view of the possibilities. Natural gas is indeed a better option, but the inevitability of its fast depletion leads to an imminent rise on the coal consumption. This theoretical behavior actually finds some support in current events in the energy field. With the production of shale gas increasingly dramatically and oil production rapidly rising, the macro effects of the shale revolution are being felt around the world by structurally contributing to a more stable oil market, in which global demand can rise. Hydraulic fracturing technology has spurred gas production in general. Therefore, coal is expected to decline several percentage points over the next 3 decades as the use of natural gas climbs, according to the Energy Information Administration. But it is considered that one reason that coal won't disappear soon is that regulators are reluctant to let utilities become too dependent on natural gas, fearing that a sudden price jump could send electricity prices soaring. Very similar to the model system, actually. What will happen when natural gas becomes short in supply? For example, right now, European coal imports have actually boomed as its gas supplies taper off and it tries to wean itself from nuclear power. The demand for natural gas is falling, and the currently regulated prices of natural gas are likely to reduce further the demand for natural gas in the power sector. The advantage of the huge supplies of coal is still difficult to beat, and any shortcomings of other energy supplies will lead to return to those coal resources. This introduces us to a first possibility to influence the coal production system by means of the realistic assessment of the CO2 production. Of course, natural gas is far from a perfect fuel. It is, after all, a fossil fuel. However, it is much cleaner burning than oil and coal. We can introduce a relationship between the CO2 produced and the cost of production. Let's analyze an example. Europe is going back to coal because we're afraid of nuclear. European environmental regulations that will take effect in 2015 threaten to reduce coal demand. This shows how, by means of strict environmental rules, global coal demand could drop because of the intervention of a somehow CO2 taxation. Power plants in Europe are currently installing pollution control mechanisms that could keep their demand, but at the same time increasing their production costs. If we add a CO2 tax as a variable in the system and a relationship between CO2 and production costs, we discover a possible lowering of the coal exploitation, therefore fostering natural gas exploitation due to its cleaner burning process. What we found in the results of the new system is that the natural gas production behavior is very close to the original one. Because of the cleaner behavior of its production process, the additional pressure on its cost is relatively low, but the coal production is definitely affected by the increasing costs. This may mean that there's a ceiling to the production of electricity from coal because of this increasing cost of production that will try to decrease the demand of coal, but the ever-increasing electricity demand will push for more production. Electricity demand is a variable that is always increasing, therefore it needs to be handled by the system in spite of the increasing cost. This introduces us to the concept that there's an additional way to influence the coal production system, and it's by means of the addition of a new electricity production influence, therefore changing the initial structure of the system. Advantages in renewable technology are amongst the most exciting developments of recent years, and they are already making renewable energy a reality. And there are a number of renewable technologies and approaches that are gaining a foothold in the world, including wind turbines, photovoltaic, and even waste-to-energy technologies that can turn solid waste and sewage into energy. No doubt, exciting new technologies will continue to emerge, but we are far from being able to meet all of our energy needs from renewable right now. For my final system model, I'm proposing the concept that by promoting and increasing the current resources of natural gas, it will provide the breathing room we need in order to focus on the support of the creation and delivery of wind, solar, biogas, and other renewable sources of energy. That is why our final system introduces a relationship between fossil fuel prices, clean energy prices, and clean energy investment. Following the same concept of coal and natural gas, we have a system that relates the price of fossil fuels with investments on clean energy. As we can see, most of the loops are reinforcing ones, which explain the current accelerating pace of the clean energy field. As we can see in the results, the behavior of coal production is deeply affected by the influence of the addition of the clean energy system. Additionally, I'm incorporating a parametric change to the system. I'm introducing an increase in natural gas resources in order to foster the use of natural gas until the clean energy production is able to handle the electricity demand of the system. The fact that the current biggest producers of natural gas aren't likely to suffer shortage in the near future gives us the support to try this additional intervention to the system. My reason to recommend this intervention is because we need to find better ways to make a bridge between the non-renewable fuels and the renewable ones. The most promising solution until renewable are further matured is natural gas. This is my analysis on why coal consumption keeps rising and what can we do to influence the system. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation.